All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to LinkedIn Tuesdays. It's January 30th, 2024. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. For those people on Zoom, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to put your questions into the chat box. For those watching on Facebook, any questions you've got, please just put them into the comment field. We're monitoring both feeds. We'll be sure to get those questions answered for you. Also, LinkedIn. This is all about connecting with everybody else who's on the call today. So feel free in the chat window to put in your contact information, what you're looking to target companies, put in your name, and connect with everybody else who's on the call today. It's a great way to expand your connections because you never know who will be able to help you in the future. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those unemployed in Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I launched a second website, careerusa.org, to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search It You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon. If you see me in person, I always have copies with me. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. The group's been around since the late 1990s. I took it over in 2007 when the prior leader landed a job. I'll tell you about our upcoming program that we have this Friday at the end of this session. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team, also known as the PIC crew. Remember, your LinkedIn profile, your resume, they're not going to get you a job. What they will get you is a phone call. How well you practice your interviewing skills, that's what's going to get you your next job. So for more information, just go to dallaspiccrew.com. Well, we have 4 outstanding speakers who talk about LinkedIn. They rotate through on a monthly basis. We're very lucky to have all of them with us. Today, Kurt VandeMotter is with us, and he's going to talk about LinkedIn from a recruiter's eye. So, Kurt, thank you for being with us, and Happy New Year's.
How's that?
There
Everybody
we
can hear
go. I
me
can
now.
hear you.
Excellent. Well, thanks, Jeff. Happy New Year, and I can't believe that we're almost in the month of February. That's just really scary. I was with a client yesterday, and scary. But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to help you all. And so Jeff, what my internet says that it's unstable. Can everybody hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you. You did freeze up for just a second, but
I'm wondering if I go down, I might go downstairs. I'm going to take this computer and go downstairs. I'm going to keep talking to y'all, but you're just going to follow me down to my living room or my dining room. And I think I'll get a better connection and make sure that I don't drop anybody here. Um, so this meeting today is not about me and everybody on this call. And so what I want to try to confirm and make sure everybody understands is that I have a job, and but if you have got a question, this is a very valuable hour for you. You've taken a lot of time out of your day to spend with Jeff and I. So if there's any questions that you've got, anything you've ever wanted to ask a recruiter that you've never had a chance to ask, or something you want to clarify, throw your hand up and say you've got a question, or send a note off, put it into the group chat, and Jeff is my wingman and he'll keep an eye on that to make sure that we're getting all your questions answered. So just a little bit about who I am. I think that helps set the pace for the call. I own a company called Linked Executive Search, and I started the company 16 years ago. I came out of corporate America not as a HR or a recruiter, but as a hiring manager. Pepsi, Dr. Pepper, 7-Up, AT&T, technology startup companies. And 16 years ago, I pivoted out of my corporate career and started Linked Executive Search. And so I'm a retained search executive. And I think that's always a good place to start, is to give everybody an overview of recruiters and the types of recruiters that are out there. Jeff's going to throw up a cheat sheet for everybody, but the bottom line is it's not good, bad, and ugly recruiters, but there's three types of recruiters. There's internal recruiters, and these are the recruiters that are in-house. They work for large companies. They work there. You take the AT&Ts and the PepsiCos of the world. That's where these folks are working out of. You generally don't find in-house recruiters in smaller organizations, but generally for sure in large organizations. Not all large organizations uses their in-house staffing or recruiting tools. So that's why occasionally they might go outside and use outside search firms. There's two types of outside search firms. There's contingent outside firms, and these are the firms that a company might have a director of sales or a vice president of sales role open, and they may go out and find three or four contingent recruiters that want to work on that search. The bottom line is that contingent recruiters don't get paid anything unless they find the candidate or bring the candidate to the company that gets a job offer. And so those recruiters have a different way of working. They work really fast. They don't necessarily take as much time to get to know candidates, but that's an overgeneralization. Then there's retained search executives, and that's what I am. Companies that find retained search executives, we're exclusive. So we get paid a retainer up front, and then we get a percentage of the compensation that is offered to the candidate. We generally, in a retained search, we become more of a partner with the company to help solve their hiring needs, because we are exclusive. We really spend time to get to know the organization. We spend a lot of time getting to know candidates to determine whether or not they're going to be a good fit for the organization or not. So those are the kinds of recruiters. Why is it important that I spend some time to educate you on the kinds of recruiters? Well, it's important as you, as a candidate, that when a recruiter calls, you have to have the confidence to determine what kind of recruiter that is. So there's nothing wrong with asking a recruiter when they call you, could you give me an idea? Are you an internal recruiter or are you an external recruiter? And if they say external, then they will probably tell you pretty quickly that they're a contingent recruiter or a retained search recruiter. If they don't, it's okay for you to ask that question as well. Why is it important for you to know the difference? Well, internal recruiters, they know their client really well, and they're not going to present candidates that are not almost 100% fit for the organization. So for a recruiter, internal recruiter to call you, you know up front that you're pretty close to what this organization is looking for. But you also know that this internal recruiter is working with a hiring manager to fill the job and is going to be a really good connection for you to have. If they say that they're an external recruiter, then questions like how long have you been working on the search? How many other recruiters are working on the search? Can you tell me what problem the company is trying to solve? And so why is the job open? Is this a new role? Is it a backfill? All of those questions are good questions for you to talk to recruiters about. What happens most of the time is that, and I hope that none of you that are on this call are in this category, but most of the time what happens is because we're in a job search and we're trying to generate, a recruiter calls and we have a tendency as candidates to just kind of vomit all over their desk, to tell them, oh my God, somebody called me. It's they're interested in my background. So it's my job now to tell them everything that I've ever done in my life. And so, some recruiters are turned off by that. So be careful. Other recruiters may stop you 10 minutes into it to say, let's stop for a minute and recharge our batteries to figure out, what I'm really looking for. So I encourage you to just take a deep breath when a recruiter calls. ask the question about what kind of recruiter are you? Are you an internal recruiter? Are you an outside recruiter? And then, certainly let the recruiter take the lead as far as directing the conversation. Um, they may have one very simple question, or they may want to spend 30 minutes with you. But if you can figure out what they are first, that'll help direct the conversation. So from that point forward, first of all, Jeff, have we got any questions first? I mean, there might be some low-hanging fruit out there. No, okay, we're moving on. So we've got people on this call today, which is not good news. It is what it is. But what we're really here to talk today about is how do recruiters use LinkedIn? And so there in LinkedIn, there's a product that was developed a number of years ago called LinkedIn Recruiter. And for me as a single shingle, I pay a lot of money to have that product and to use that product. And what it is LinkedIn a number of years ago worked with a company called Korn Ferry. Korn Ferry, obviously a recruiting firm, they determined that at the end of their day, every day when they shut off the lights, their database was outdated. So they needed to develop a tool that they could keep track of candidates and a database that they could manage that would let them know who candidates were and a tool that candidates could update on their own. And that was LinkedIn. So through the process, what they did is they developed a product called LinkedIn Recruiter. And it's built on top of LinkedIn. It's a different set of APIs. The database, the content for LinkedIn Recruiter is LinkedIn. But you as a candidate, when I'm in LinkedIn Recruiter, you as a candidate cannot see me anywhere. I don't show up anywhere on your radar. I don't show up as a recruiter looked at you. It's completely a blind situation. And the reason that is because at any given time, I can be working on 5 or 6 searches and being and reaching out to. Right now, I'm conducting 3 searches. I've got messages out to probably 150 people, and and when I'm doing my searches, I can look at 100 profiles in an hour. So if everybody that I looked at, every profile that a recruiter looked at, if you saw that and you knew that I was looking at your profile and you pinged me back and said, "Hey, I saw you looked at my profile," Kurt would never get any work done. So that's why there's a barrier between communication between LinkedIn Recruiter and candidates. So we're completely invisible. But there's a lot of things that you can do as a candidate to make yourself more accessible and more findable for recruiters. And so that's what we're here to talk about. LinkedIn changes every day. It's a product that doesn't. If I was if I'm working for LinkedIn, I might go crazy because they do releases without any kind of notification to their consumers or to the people that use their product. It's absolutely crazy. So I need to go back into you all here and share screen, right, Jeff?
Yes, that's correct.
I'll get this down one day.
It's only been 3 years. Why should we learn now?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so here we are in LinkedIn Recruiter, and let me just go back, make sure I'm in there right. Okay, so first and foremost, just a disclosure is that we're going to do a live search. We're going to look at candidates, live candidates. If there's anybody that we look at on here that this is confidential, please keep it that way. I hope that I don't say anything bad about anybody, but we are going to look at profiles and we're going to not rate them on a 1 to 10, but we're going to determine whether they're good or bad profiles and give you some ideas hands-on what I'm looking for as a recruiter. So just in a brief, you can see that there's a lot of things that I can look at. This is my dashboard when I come to work. I can look for job titles. I can look for locations. Okay. I can look for workplace types. So most of my searches, companies want candidates to work full-time in their office. I'm doing a CFO search for a company in Texas right now, and they actually are open to a candidate that would be remote. So normally I would be checking that for people that want to on site, but if I have a remote opportunity or a hybrid role, I can search for candidates that have self-selected that. I can put in skills. I can search for companies. Sometimes there are companies that I'm working for that will give me a list of companies that they have that they'd like me to recruit out of. These are companies that we most admire. I use an example when years ago I used to do a lot of work for Mission Foods, and they had conducted kind of done a strategic plan, and in that strategic plan they had identified that employees that came from Kellogg, from Hershey's, and they identified like 10 companies. Those were companies that they wanted to be more like and wanted to recruit from. So sometimes I can use that. Other times it's just a brainstorm that I do on my own. Completely transparent. I use AI a lot these days. So I might go into AI and I'm conducting a search for a company that's in the outdoor space today. They have a product that is considered outdoor recreational. So I might go into AI and say, give me all the companies that are considered outdoor recreational products. And AI will throw me a list of 100 companies. I cut and copy that into companies here. And that's another way that I can search. Some companies have an admiration for schools, either because of the work that they're in. They may be a food scientist company, and so they want people that are coming out of Texas A&M or organizations, schools that have a strong food science background or curriculum. I can look at years of graduation. I'll stop right there and just throw it out there that this is not a tool that I use very often, but it will give me the ability, and this is where some of you might have that age question. I can determine, year of graduation, candidates that graduated in 1974 all the way up to 2034. And I can move that scale around so I can, if I want to, I only want to look at candidates that graduated from 2009 to 2017 as an example. So if I want to do that, whoops, where did that go? If I want to do that, I can, but again, I don't use that tool very often. Industries I use quite a bit because if I'm working for a law firm, then and I'm looking for lawyers, then that's a sector that I probably got to stick pretty closely to. I'm not going to find a manufacturing person that can be a lawyer. So I do use industries quite often. Keywords, this is where a recruiter will develop or build a Boolean. And a Boolean search is where we would say, I put in quotes, sales and capital A&D, marketing, not digital. Put it in quotes and I throw that in there, and then it will spin through LinkedIn and find me candidates that have sales and marketing backgrounds, but they're not a digital candidate. I use keywords all the time, and I keep keywords as I'm conducting searches. I keep a list of keywords that I'm searching for that specific role. So when I've got spare time, I may go in and just, over the last week, I came up with 20 new keywords, throw those in there and see if I can find any new candidates. Employment type. Am I looking for a full-time employee? Am I looking for a contract, internship, network relationship? These are people that I'm connected to. So I can look for people that I'm connected to, second, third connections. You can see how quickly my network grows. I'm directly connected to over 10,000 people. My second connections take me to 2.5 million. And third connections, who knows what that number is. So I've got a pretty vast network, which helps me make connections more quickly. Any questions so far, Jeff?
The only question that popped up, Jana, let's see here. Jana asked, how valuable is LinkedIn Premium for the job seeker?
Yep, great question. I recommend to candidates that they don't need the premium version. I think you can get away with just the regular version. But then again, if somebody were to take the recruiter product away from me right now, I feel like I was swimming with all my clothes on and weights around my ankles. So if you're used to using it and that's what you're using today, and you can afford it, and it's not breaking your bank, and you like the product, then continue to use it. But if you're on the edge of do I need it or don't I need it, you don't need it. You can do everything you need to do searching for a job in LinkedIn without that advanced product. Yep. So
Good,
let's
thanks.
go do a search today, and let's do a search. I'll tell you what, I'm doing a search, and I'll just throw it out there because it's not a secret. I'm looking for a sales director. Okay. Um, and sales specialist, sales executive, gives me all kinds of words. Senior sales. I'm going to put in inside sales because this is an inside sales manager. Um, and so there's certainly elements that I'm going to have to really dig into people's backgrounds to find people that have got that inside sales experience. I don't care where these people live, but they have to move to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Okay. So this is not a hybrid situation. This is not a remote opportunity. This is a full relocation to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So I'm not going to look in Sioux Falls because the company is headquartered there. And if this person was already in Sioux Falls, they'd already know this person. Sioux Falls isn't that big. And they've already had a couple of other recruiters fail at this search. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time just looking in Sioux Falls. But instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down and I'm going to go, and I don't have this list with me, it's upstairs, but I'm going to go in here and go South Dakota. Um, let's see. I better put in a Dakota and then maybe that'll help. South Dakota State. I'm just going to put in Dakota, see if I can. Okay, there's University of South Dakota. Those are the two biggest ones. I did some research and there's like 5 other smaller universities. But let's just for right now, I would love to find somebody who went to school in South Dakota because potentially they're more likely to want to or consider moving back to South Dakota. Maybe they've got family there. They went to school there for a reason. So not a bad place to start. Now, I've only got 312 candidates and I haven't put in a whole lot of data yet. Okay. All I put in is title and universities and only 312 people. So I better be careful because if I keep putting in more contingents, my number's going to go down and I won't have a pool of candidates to talk to. As a recruiter, we want to start with a big pool of candidates. We would like to start with 1,000 candidates and go, oh, maybe not 1,000, but I could talk to 700 candidates. So we might put in one more variable that takes that 1,000 down to 700. And then we can start scrolling through resumes. I'm not going to put anything else in there because I want to start with that with just those people right now. Okay.
Kurt, can I point one thing out? I want to point
Yep.
something out to everybody. Notice that when Kurt was putting in job titles, he was selecting the job titles that LinkedIn already has in their system. That's why it's very important that whatever you put on your LinkedIn profile is the generic standard title that LinkedIn uses. You put in something weird, you may never be found.
That's a really good point, Jeff, and I'm really glad you brought that up because this whole title thing comes into play in a couple of other places as well. So what Jeff is saying is that if you work for a small startup company and they gave you a fancy title And it was fun to put in your business card. And everybody always was like, wow, that's such a cool title. There's probably only 2 other people in the country that have that title. And that title is probably not in LinkedIn. So you want, if you're a salesperson, you want to stick to the basics: vice president of sales, director of sales, sales entrepreneur, sales leadership, those kinds of things that are going to be titles that LinkedIn uses. The other thing that I encourage you to do is that on titles, and we talked about recruiters, internal recruiters, external recruiters, contingent, retained. Titles are another place. It's really funny. So I didn't realize this until I think I was panel talking to an in-face meeting, Jeff, that you did last year. And there was a recruiter that brought up a point that let's say that this is a company that's got a search open and they're looking for a customer service acquisitions specialist. That's a customer service role. It's a customer service manager. It's a customer service representative. They put some fancy words in there, okay, because they want to try, they're acquiring, they want acquisition. They're looking for you to help acquire new customers, okay? But if you're talking to and working with an internal recruiter and that's what they're looking for, and you've got another title on your resume, but you think it's the same thing, you've got to be really, really careful, because a lot of internal recruiters, because remember, they are looking, they know exactly what they're looking for, bullseye. They've looked at a lot of candidates. They've worked with the hiring manager. They know exactly what they're looking for. They're not going to waste the hiring manager's time and take in 20 resumes. You don't have the title of what the title of the job is that they're trying to fill, they're likely to leave you off of that slate of candidates. Okay? Guys, I got to take this quick call really quick. Hold on just a second, Jeff.
All right. Well, while Kurt's doing it, let me expand on that a little bit more.
Good, how are you?
Whoop, hold on. Let me. So let me just mention, let's talk about this a little bit more. Where do you find those generic titles at? Where do you find those at? Go to the open to work feature. So when you go to the open to work feature, you will be able to find those job titles, and that's what you want to put in your profile. Also, what you can do is on your resume, you put in your job title, whatever your official job title is. Let's see here. When you do that, when you put in that title on your resume, in parentheses after, in parentheses after whatever your job title was, that's where you can put the job title of if it's not a generic job that you're finding listed, you can list it there. So you've got multiple job titles across the profile. All right, a couple questions came up. Let me do those. Let me answer some of those while that's happening here. Let's see here.
Yeah.
Where is the search pulling from? Is it pulling from resumes that recruiters have posted on LinkedIn? Search is coming from all the information in your profile. All right, so you have it's coming from everywhere that's in your profile. So just know that in your about section, your job title. Hold on, let me go mute him for a second. Okay, so it comes from everything that you have in your profile. So just be aware that in your about section, in each of the jobs that you have, that's where all the searches are coming from. And what we'll see when he pops up a search is that it will be highlighted. If Kurt says he's looking for a skill, let's say he's looking for Microsoft Office, that will pop up everywhere in his profile. Oops, let me see if he's back here. Kurt, if you're back, I muted you. You'll have to unmute yourself.
There we go. I'm back.
There we go. Okay.
Sorry, y'all. That was a client that called. I've been in Midland, Texas for the last 3, 4, 5 days interviewing candidates with this family, and it was the family calling to figure out what the next steps were. So my apologies. I had to take that call. So what I've done now is I've populated the candidates that meet the profile of what we're looking for. I think what Jeff was talking about was that if I were to go in here and put in a keyword, then it would highlight in their profile where they had that experience. So here's an example. We were looking for a sales executive, and here's Jennifer. She's a sales executive at RentPath. She's a senior executive at Rent. Let's just look at Jennifer. She's with Yelp today. She's a mid-market account executive. I could guess what that is. She probably does a lot of cold calling. It's highlighted. I don't know what Rent is, so I can click on Rent and it'll tell me immediately what they do. Rent offers solutions. Work hard for you. I don't even know. That's not renting by helping property owners and operators easily attract new renters. Okay, so that's what Rent is. Heartland Payment Systems, don't know what that is. But here's a gal that I don't know if she's got inside sales experience. She hasn't highlighted it. She hasn't given me a lot of information. She is open to work. Okay, see this here, open to work. But she has nothing in her in her summary section. There's no information about who she is and what she's done and what her accomplishments have been. So as a recruiter, I don't have a lot of information about this young lady, but because I'm so new in the search and I see that she did go to the University of South Dakota, she looks like she is living now, hard to say. University of South Dakota, Prairie Village, Kansas is where she lives today. So she's in advertising sales, which is a little bit not far from what we're looking for with somebody in inside sales, because this is a very complicated sales. It's not a they're not selling candles. They're selling, it's a very complex sale. So if I wanted to talk to Jennifer, this is where I then would have the opportunity as a recruiter to send her a message. I've got messages that have been pre-written, so I can quickly send messages. When I'm in job search mode and I'm hunting for candidates, to give you an idea, I can look at about 100 profiles in an hour. And out of those, I'll send anywhere from 20 to 30 messages. The key to know about InMail is that I have a pretty good reply rate. Mine's somewhere in the 17 to 18% category. But most, the average for LinkedIn is in the 8 to 9%. So as a recruiter, if I'm trying to find candidates, sending InMail is one tool, but it's not the only tool. Because I can send out 100 messages and only 17 people are going to reply to those messages. Okay. So I can't just use InMail as a solution. And that's where I coach candidates that there's a summary section here. And in that section, I highly recommend to you as a candidate, if you're actively looking for a new role, that you put your contact information in that summary section, your email address and your phone number. You are at a point where you want to get reached, and you become a completely different candidate when you give a recruiter your contact information. You move to the head of the class, because I can call you immediately and say, Carol, Kurt, hey, I'm looking to fill this role. I looked at your profile really quickly, but let's not waste any time going back and forth. Are you open to relocation? Is this a role that you would be interested in? And in 10 minutes, we can hammer out whether or not this is a conversation that we need to have a longer conversation for. Or if it's your email address, I can send you an email and I know it's going to go to your inbox. And I can send you a job description and say, hey, Megan, would this be a role that you'd be interested in? Get back to me as soon as you can if this is something that you'd like to learn more about. So I can avoid using LinkedIn. Recruiters like to get out of LinkedIn as quickly as they can, and they want to get you on their dashboard and out of the LinkedIn profile. So those are some tools that will help you And I'll talk about that over and over and over again because it's just a really, really, really powerful way, giving recruiters, giving people your contact information to move to the head of the class. So we looked at Jennifer on a scale of 1 to 10. She'd probably be a 2 in the sense of her LinkedIn profile. Let's just go to another candidate real quick. Here's Hunter. Hunter is in transportation, logistics, supply chain, and storage. I'm looking for a salesperson. So not opposed to those backgrounds, looking at where he came out of. I don't know what C.H. Robinson is, and because it's not highlighted like this freight quote, I can't click on it to tell me what that company does. I can look at freight quote, but I see that he's in the logistics business and supply chain. Really don't care about freight quote at this point because he was an account executive. He was doing inside sales most likely. And then before that, he was at Comcast Business. That's a complicated sale. It doesn't happen in one call generally. You've got to build relationships with people. You've got to be trustworthy and so. So, not bad. Now, I'm also while I'm going through and saying, okay, he was at Freight Quote for 3 years. He was here for 2 years. He was here for a year. If I put him in this role, I can probably guesstimate he'll last for 2 or 3 years, but probably not past that. Now, I know that that's going to sound like an awful clear, like I'm making a huge generalization, but he's given us his track record and he doesn't stick around in places very long. But doesn't mean that if this is a great opportunity and he crushes it, that he wouldn't stay there 10 years. It's just companies hate candidates. I don't care where you come from. It comes up all the time. Can you give me an explanation of why this candidate's moved around so much? Now, as a recruiter, that's my job, and I would ask that question up front so that I'd have that answer. You can't change what it is, but I do see in many times I'll get a candidate on a phone and I'll say, you've got to help me out. You've moved around a lot. Is there an explanation? Well, when I was here, that was a contract role. And when I did this, that was well, put that in the LinkedIn then. Put contractor in there so that I know that you're not getting fired every 6 months. You just look like you can't hold a job for anything. So put that word contract in there if that's the case and make it easy for people to understand.
Can we take a
So
look at his summary statement?
yeah, so here's his summary. See more of his summary, and
Not a
um,
whole lot.
not a whole lot. So he talks about account executive, demonstrated history B2B sales. I'm looking for somebody B2C. He's got good negotiation. Microsoft Word, for goodness sakes, he's probably 30 years old. He better be really good at Microsoft Word. He better be good at Excel. He better be good at all those things because that's what he was born with, that in his mouth. Sales communications, sales operations, strong sales. So both inside and outside sales. So, maybe it's somebody, again, I'm early in the search. He went to school in South Dakota in 2010. He graduated when he was 21, 2010. So he's about 34 or 35 years old. He lives now, it looks like, in Minneapolis. So it's cold in Minneapolis. It's cold in South Dakota. Maybe he'd like to get back to where he went to school. I don't know. But
Well,
I
and
won't
also
know that until I have a conversation with him.
if you go down to his open to work thing, the last thing he put on there for a type of job is remote. So you're looking for somebody who is willing to move. He's
Right.
telling everybody, I just want a remote job only.
Yep, exactly. Now, between you and I as a recruiter, I look at that, but if he's a candidate that I'd like to talk to, I might try to sell him on, have you considered going to Sioux Falls? I mean, this marketing role pays X and, for $180,000, Sioux Falls, South Dakota is not a bad place to live. So,
You can buy a heavy coat.
so I do sell along the way as well. And he might just say, no, for personal and family reasons, I'm not relocatable, but maybe somebody that is. So again, he probably gets C plus, a C on this, but he could do so much more if he is really an open to work, opportunities, then he's just a lot of improvements that he can make to this profile that would enhance it. Let's go on to the next person, see if we can find one that's a little bit more robust. I'm going to go down here and see if we can find one of our people that have open to work. Here's Dominique. So one of the questions that hasn't been asked yet, but it will come up here in the next few minutes. If it doesn't, I'm going to answer it for you now. And that's this green, I call it the green wreath. It's open to work. The question is for candidates is, do I put that on or do I leave it off? And I can't tell you that one is better or worse than the other, but I can tell you that if I were a candidate that was looking for a new opportunity, I'd put my ego aside and I'd put that green wreath on. Okay. And here's why is that that there's other people that are using LinkedIn that don't have LinkedIn Recruiter or aren't even recruiters. I use an example of Bob Smith. He's a vice president for a multi-billion-dollar company, and he's looking for new sales leaders. And he's on a trip for a week, and he's got this amazing admin that has been with him for a long time. And while he's away, she knows that this job's open, and we've got HR and the recruiting team working on it. But she's really good at what she does, and she's got extra time. So she's going to get on her LinkedIn profile in her LinkedIn and start looking for candidates that maybe she knows that could be a good fit. And she comes across your profile and she says, Carol would be a great fit, a great candidate, but you know, you don't have that green wreath on, Carol. And she goes right by you because, oh, we could never afford Carol. She wouldn't be interested in this role. We make assumptions. But when you've got that green wreath on and she sees that, she's likely to pick up the phone and say, Carol, this is Sally. You know, we work together. I knew you at this point. We've got this new director of sales opportunity. Would you be interested in interviewing for it? So that's the reason is that it's not just for recruiters, it's other people that are using LinkedIn that come across your profile that aren't used to looking at LinkedIn and don't pay attention to that open to work phrase, but they do notice that the green wreath is on and it could make your phone ring. Jeff, that's all we're trying to do. Everything that we do as a candidate is we're trying to get our phone to ring, trying to get that email button to bing, 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 you got new email. And so anything that we can do that will help accelerate that is going to be in the best interest of you as a candidate. I highly recommend you put that green wreath on. Now, here's more of her summary. She's done a really nice job of giving us a little bit of information on the kinds of companies. Some of the awards that she's won. She's only been with one company, FedEx, for 12 years. So, you know, there's not a lot about what she's done in this under FedEx. She's got a whole section there that she could list accomplishments and achievements. She's not done that. She's open to work, but she's not given us her phone number or contact information. So if I want to talk to Dominique, the only opportunity that I have is to send her an email. Okay. And again, she's been with FedEx, one company. They do a lot of inside sales. Not quite the same as what I'm looking for, but she's already in South Dakota. So maybe she's not the exact fit for what I'm looking for, but maybe Dominique knows somebody that she's networked in her community that would like to move to South Dakota. So that's the blinders that I leave off. When I'm in search mode, I mean, I have no preconceptions. All of my blinders are off because I don't know what I don't know. Any other questions, Jeff?
Yep, we got a bunch of them in the chat window. I was just looking
Good.
ahead just to check them all out here. So, well, I already answered where is search pulling from. It's pulling from all the data you have in your profile. Carol says, where should the keywords be located in your profile for the recruiter to find it?
Yep, good question. So keywords, let's talk about that for a minute. If I was going through a job search, one of the things I would do is I'd make a list in the back of a notebook or somewhere of all the keywords that describe who I am and what I've done. And that list might be 100 words. And then I would go into LinkedIn and I'd make sure that those words were scattered throughout my LinkedIn profile. I'd put them in my summary section. I'd put them under the jobs that I did those keywords at. So it might have been back when I was at Pepsi. It might have been when I was at AT&T. But I'd find places to put those keywords that demonstrate that I've done that or have got that experience. Update that on a weekly basis. You go to meetings, you go to webinars, you go to different places, you hear different people talking about different things. Wherever you can keywords, keep populating those keywords and keep updating your LinkedIn profile. Critical to a job search.
And one of our speakers actually mentions that you should have the same keyword mentioned 3 to 5 times in your profile. So you may want to put it in your summary statement, and you want to have that keyword in 1 or 2 of your jobs. So that way, it shows up as something that you're really, really doing.
Yep.
Kelly says, I do not have the year I graduated from in college. Is this hurting me?
No, it's what I try to explain to candidates is, if you're trying to stay away from that age game, we're going to figure it out at some point. If that's a concern of yours, I'm going to figure out. I mean, I have a friend of mine, I'll keep him nameless, and he's been a friend of mine for a long time. And he showed up one day at a meeting and he had black hair. And I was like, dude, what did you do to yourself? I said, do you think that makes you look younger or smarter or older or what are you doing? And he says, well, not everybody's known me as long as you have, Kurt. So it's not as probably as dramatic. But, the key is that, you just can't cover it up. So leaving it off of your graduation date is fine. But again, if I am concerned about a job that I'm filling and I'm cautious about that age thing, I'll figure it out at some point. So, it's more of a personal approach than anything else, Jeff.
All right. Let's see. Do recruiters look at other social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, et cetera, when searching for a candidate?
We do, but it really depends on the role. If I'm searching for a digital marketing expert, then I might use Facebook or Instagram. But there are tools out there. I don't use them personally. I have the ability and I have run candidates through. I'll give you another example of what I would do in certain cases, certain searches, depending on the visibility of the role, is I will take that candidate's name, email address, and phone number, and I'll turn it over to a friend of mine that's got a company, and he throws it into his tool. And within 3 minutes, I can see what your what your presence is in all of the social media platforms and what your voice is. That would be important to me if I was filling a CEO role. I'd want to make sure that this candidate isn't out on social media um, breaking any rules as it relates to inclusion or diversity or anything else. So that would be a tool that I'd use for very senior roles, public companies, organizations like that. But predominantly, when I'm searching, and this is something that companies ask me all the time, is where do you go to find your candidates? Well, unequivocally, LinkedIn is number one. But I have a vast network of people and other places that I go. Jeff can attest that there's many times when I've got searches going that I'll send him the job description. He's got a vast network and a place to distribute and to post those jobs. But I also go way above and beyond in the sense of, for this role that I'm trying to fill in South Dakota. Now the kids are just coming back to school, but I'm building relationships with not the placement centers, but with marketing executives that are teaching in the classrooms in those locations, because maybe they've got a student that they really enjoyed teaching, and that student over the last 10 years has stayed in touch and wants to come back to the neighborhood. Maybe somebody that I would not find on my own. So I keep blinders off as far as search, and I do some really creative, crazy things to try to find candidates and attract candidates to start a conversations with me.
That's what makes you one of the top recruiters in the country.
Maybe, yeah.
All right. Mike says, does setting the title in LinkedIn with the pipe symbol between the rows cause a search failure? I'll answer that and say no. As long as you leave a space on either side of that pipe symbol, and the pipe symbol is the key, it's the shift right above the enter key. It's that little shifting, the bar that goes straight up and down. That will not bother. LinkedIn looks at that as the word or. Let's see. C Knight says, can you show us where to update the job title at? We can do that here when Kurt's done. I'll pull up my profile and show you that. Carol says, uploading PDF files. Do they show up with the keywords on a uploaded PDF file show up? No. Any, uploading a resume, uploading a PDF file, whatever, those do not show up in the search feature. Let's see here. How do we see a list of the standard job titles? I'll show you that here at the end. Keep going down here. C.H. Robinson is a third-party logistics company, FYI. Thank you, Patty, for looking that up.
Thanks.
Ray asked, put contact information in the contact info section or the about section or both?
Both.
Both. Because
when in doubt, over communicate, y'all. It's it's the same thing that you've got an email signature, I hope, when you're sending out an email. In that email signature, I hope you've got your email address, your phone number, a link to your LinkedIn profile. I hope you turn that on for every time you send a message and every time you reply to a message. If you're looking for a job, I can't tell you how many times I'm on the road and I'm not purposely, but I've got a search going on. Company calls me. We want to talk to Mike. And I presented Mike. I don't have his resume with me. And I go onto my phone. I can't find his resume in my my search there. I've got his email, but there's no phone number. And all I can do is send him back an email. And I'm just at that point, I'm just like, pray to God that when I send this note off to Mike, that he'll get back to me in 24 hours, or that I land where I'm going to be in 24 hours and I can do some more digging to find out, find his phone number or some other contact. But the fact is just make it super easy on recruiters and everybody else that's trying to get a hold of you, and put your email address and your phone number on every piece of communication that you send out. Make sure that you've got a recording on your voicemail. I mean, how many people allow AT&T to be your brand is absolutely ludicrous. Why you haven't taken put your own commercial on there? Hey, this is Kurt. I'm not available right now. Call me back when I'll call you back when I get a minute. Have a tremendous day. I mean, that's your personal advertisement. So take advantage of those things and make it personal. You are the candidate. You are an individual. You are one of a kind, and take the time to demonstrate that to everybody that you're trying to be in touch with.
those are the questions we've got so far.
Good. So I was going to go, let me look at Monty real quick, because this is somebody we didn't look at, and see if he's got just a dynamic profile. Okay, so here's Monty. He hasn't given us his contact information, but he's certainly talked about the different products he's sold. He's used this real estate a little bit better than some of the other candidates. Here, he's really done a nice job of talking about what did he do and his accomplishments. This is free real estate, y'all. If you don't fill it up, it's not that nobody else is going to use it, but it's a waste of your search if you don't use the time to fill in all these different the things that you've done. I mean, this is a really good example of a solid profile. Other than, I'd love to see a little bit more information in his summary. I'd love to see his email address and his phone number. Obviously, he's open to work, because right now the only way I can get a hold of him is to hit the button right here and send him an email. And then I just pray that Monty decides to get back to me. So hopefully this has been a good view of what I look at and a quick review of what recruiters are looking at. Again, it's only one of many tools that we use, but it's the one that we use most frequently. The last thing that I was going to just bring up, Jeff, so we've got a couple minutes, is that I can never not give away the free advice of the prayer letter. And I know that it's different. And so I want to share with you all a tool that I recommend to just about everybody that I come in contact with. Every one of you is going to have a different way of using it, and that's fine. You've gotten the prayer letter before. It says this: read this prayer 10 times, send it to 10 people in the next 10 minutes, or you're going to die and go to hell. Well, in the job search world, you all have a vast network of people that you know, that you've worked with, that you've worked for, people that you've met at conventions, people that you've met on airplanes, people that have called on you. If you're going through a search, this is a great time of the year to do this. Make a list of all of those people. Put them all into an Excel spreadsheet. Email addresses and phone numbers, names, and if you want to put the company name just as a reference, you can, but this is your own Excel spreadsheet, so it's nobody else is going to look at it. After you've developed that list, it may be 100 people, it may be 400 people. What I want you to do next is I want you to reach out and call. Yes, I said call every one of those people. And the conversation is this: hey, Jeff, Kurt here. I just want you to know that I'm actively looking for new opportunities. It's been a while since we've talked, but we worked together when we were at X. I've always admired you, and I know that you've got a vast network, and maybe somebody in your network would be looking for somebody that's got the skill sets that I've got as a vice president of sales. This is a message that you can write and practice. And if you leave voice messages, it's just that quick. If you've got 4 minutes, you've got 6 minutes in the next week, call me. I'd love to give you an update. But the bottom line is you got to make all those phone calls. Even if you leave messages for half the people, you've got to make the phone calls. The second thing that you do is that if I told you every month that you need to be in touch with those people, you're probably all cringing and hoping that you don't have to make those phone calls again. Well, you don't have time to do that. So we did that once. Our network now knows that we're actively looking for an opportunity. But what happens when we don't be in touch with that network? We don't let them know on a regular basis of what's happening. Then they assume. And we don't ever want anybody to assume during a job search. Never. So we take that email list that we've got. When you've got people on the phone, one of the quick questions you want to ask everybody: make sure I've got your right email address. People change email addresses these days like they change underwear. So make sure you've got an email address that they are using on a regular basis. And then the letter goes out and it says this is the prayer letter. It says, great people know great people. I was in touch last month and I let you know that I was actively looking for new opportunities, and I continue to look for this. I continue to search. Some of the companies that I'm looking at this month include, and you give them 3 or 4 companies that you are interested in or that you're searching for introductions at. If you or anybody in your network has contacts with these companies or companies like these, I would greatly appreciate an introduction. Feel free to forward this note on to anybody in your network. And if there's anything that I can do for you or a friend, don't ever hesitate to call. I'll be back in touch in 30 days. This tool will accelerate your search because your network is your net worth. And if you don't believe that, you're not giving yourself credit for the work that you've done over the last number of years that you've been working. So highly recommend, if you don't like that way, if you don't like that tool, refine it so that it works for you. But the key is that if you've got a network of 100 people or more that you've worked with, worked for, that you know, and you're not communicating with them on a regular basis every month, you're missing out on a great opportunity, because that network knows where there's jobs and they will make introductions. It may not happen in the first month, may not happen in the second month, but the third month, the fourth month, they start coming in. It's like, Carol, you keep sending these messages, and I know I haven't gotten back to you, but it's because I haven't had anything to tell you about. but I have somebody I want to introduce you to now. Okay. So it's a tool that works. I wish that I had kept the analytics of this thing because people come back to me after they use this and they tell me over and over and over, wow, I didn't get one offer, I got 4 offers. And it's because I had my network working for me all over the country. So consider it. Jeff's got this all written up in the prayer letter. It's on his website. Last advertisement is for Jeff. If you're not utilizing the tools that this man's got and the access to the library that he's built, you're again missing out on some great opportunities. He's got resources and people that he knows all over the country. He's been doing this for a long time. He does it out for free. Um, so buy his books, spread the word about how great this man is, and don't hesitate to ask for help because he's got resources.
Kurt, thank you very, very much for those kind words. All right. Well, Kurt, thank you. I've got a few more questions I want to answer for people.
Yep.
Somebody put in the question, let's see here, where to go. Is there a way to set up the autofill signature on LinkedIn messages, or do you have to type it in every time? Yes, you have to type it in every time. There is no, it's a shame, but there's no auto feature. But there are some free resources out there that you can like type a code. You could type like SS2 or something, and for signature line number 2, and it would automatically populate. There's some extensions you can add to your Chrome to be able to do that. So that's the first thing I just want to mention for everybody. Second thing is people, here, we're looking at my profile here, and I even have my phone number in my banner photo. I wanted to make it so easy that you didn't have to open up my about section. The other point that we wanted to talk about was in your about section. The about section is the biggest section on LinkedIn. So here as you see very top here, I've got several job titles mentioned right up here. And then I say, let's get connected. I'm open to work. Here's my email address and phone number again. So if somebody opens it up and goes, yep, I want to call you, here we go. But then here at the very, very bottom, and I don't expect anybody to read this, but this is strictly there for the search function, that if Kurt were to type in inventory turns or operations or, something, and I've got a lot of different job titles in there, that this would pop up and call people in to my profile. So here you have 2,600 characters. This is huge. Tell people what you do up here at the top, what you do, how you can help them, and then save that bottom part for a lot of keywords. Once again, I'm using the pipe symbol in between everything so that I'm not using a comma or anything like that, because I'm using the pipe symbol. So I just wanted to point those things out. Also, for anybody who wants to see the prayer letter, let me see here. Let me see which. Yep. So for anybody who wants to see the prayer letter, if you want to go to the careerusa.org website, all right, and I'm trying to, oops, let's see here. Something blocking me here. There we go. And you go to resources, come down here to video and handouts. When you click on video and handouts, scroll down all the handouts from our sessions that we do every day. So here for LinkedIn, the prayer letter, the first time Kurt told us about this was a networking presentation. And so right down here, you will see, here's his prayer letter document, and it's got all the details in there of exactly what he talked about. So I just want to mention that. All right, so let me close that out. And see, Kurt, one more question. Rhonda says, what outgoing voicemail message do you suggest if we don't want to include our name and don't want to answer every incoming call due to unwanted callers?
Say that again. What's the what?
What outgoing voicemail message do you suggest if we don't want to include our name and don't answer every incoming call due to unwanted callers?
Well, if somebody's calling you, you've got a voicemail on your message because they've already got your phone number. If you're calling somebody out, you're calling to somebody and you don't want to leave your phone number? Um, I'm not sure I understand.
Well, yeah, I mean, you want to say, hi, this is Jeff Morse. How can I help you? Please leave a name. You want to let people
Yeah,
know that you
so
reached the right person.
yeah, exactly. So if I'm, my voicemail on my voicemail says, "Hey, this is Kurt. Sorry, I'm not here to get your message, but your call is really important to me. Please leave your name and number, and I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can." So that's pretty generic in mine. I think the only difference is I have a tendency to use the tremendous word a lot, and so I say, "Have a tremendous day." That's a differentiator, and it gets people to smile, and that's what I'm trying to get them to do. But as far as leaving messages with people, gosh, I leave name, phone number, email address. If I have to, I'll leave my wife's phone number so somebody can get it. If I'm really trying to get a hold of something, call my wife. If you can't get a hold of me, call my wife, please. I want to try it. I'm trying to reach you now.
Right, right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Kurt, thank you very much. Let me share a few more slides. We will get out of here. Happy New Year, and we'll see you
Thanks.
next month.
Okay, buddy. Have a great day.
All right. What we'd like everybody to do now is, if you will, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Jeff Morris, promise to always send a personal note whenever I send a LinkedIn request to connect with anyone. This includes when I use my cell phone or my computer. Very, very, very important. We didn't talk about it today, but on LinkedIn, there are two types of connect buttons. There's a white connect button and a blue connect button. The white connect button, if you're on a PC or on the desktop version or a Mac, the white connect button sends a generic invitation. I get those all the time. I don't know why somebody would want to connect with me. You haven't told me why. So what you do is click on the person's face. It will then take you to their profile. Look for the blue connect button, and the blue connect button will always allow you to send a personal note. Now, this is true only on a desktop version. If you're using your mobile device, the blue connect button automatically sends a generic invitation. So what you have to do is click on the little three dots off to the side, open up the submenu, and there is where you'll be able to find a personalized invitation. Career DFW, Career USA, we're putting on training 4 days a week. Tomorrow, the practice interview team will be meeting in person. Christ United Methodist Church, 3101 Coit Road in Plano, Texas. Please join them tomorrow, 1 o'clock. From my understanding is they've got 3 different people who are going to be interviewed. So if you'd like to watch one of those 3 interviews, come out and you're welcome to join us then. For those people who live outside the DFW area, you'll be receiving an email tomorrow, and you'll be able to watch one of our recommended videos. We're going to take you through our 13-part workshop. So tomorrow will be session number 1 that you'll be able to watch at your leisure anytime during the day. And next week we'll do session 2, then we'll do session 3. Except the only time we won't be doing that, or won't be letting you know about that, is when we do our online session, which is always the 4th Wednesday of the month. Being the first Thursday of the month, this Thursday, we're going to talk all about effective resumes, best practices, what your resume should look like. And if you'd like to share your resume, we'll be glad to take a look at your resume at the end of the session. This Friday at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group meeting, 9:30 in the morning, Central Time, we're going to have open forum. We'll talk about whatever it is you would like to talk about in your job search. Bring your questions, bring your comments, share knowledge that you've got with other people who ask questions. We are meeting in person. And for those people who can't make it in person, we will be on Zoom and Facebook Live. If you'd like to join the Career DFW LinkedIn groups or the careerusa.org LinkedIn group, you're welcome to join one or both. You do not need to live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to join the Career DFW group. We've got over 15,100 members. We're one of the largest groups in the DFW area. You're welcome to join one or both. Just be sure, I will look at your profile. If your profile is not mostly complete, I will not accept you into the group. Why are you on LinkedIn with an incomplete profile? You don't have any summary statements. You don't tell us who you are. You don't list any jobs. That's the kind of thing I'm not going to use. This session has been recorded. You will be able to go back and watch it on the Career DFW Facebook page or the Career USA YouTube channel. On the Career USA YouTube channel, and this is one of the questions somebody asked earlier, They heard about a presentation we did this past Friday at the North Dallas group. Go right here. Just go to YouTube, type in Career USA. Up will come this channel. Right now we've got like 870, 880 subscribers. If you will, please subscribe to our channel. We'd really appreciate it. Click on playlist where you see the green channel, the green arrow. Every video that I upload, I have over 500 and almost 90 videos online right now. They go in one of 8 different playlists. And in this case for LinkedIn, view full playlist. For that presentation we did this past Friday, all about ChatGPT and how to use it in your job search, click on the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group speakers right over here. Click on this one, click on view full playlist, and the very first one should pop up with that title on it. And when you do that, up will come a list of all the different dates and topics, and you can go back and scroll back and watch any of those that you would like. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops, please join the Career USA mailing list. If you're not getting a list, the reason you want to join it is because when you get that email, it will have the topic of the day, the title of the day, and most importantly, the Zoom link of the day. That way you can just open up the link and you can join us at the webinar. If you if you're not part of any mailing list and you happen to find us just off the website, either scan this QR code or just send a blank email to Career USA, the +subscribe@groups.io. Please remember, Career DFW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. All of our speakers are volunteer, Kurt's a volunteer, I'm a volunteer. Everything I've done over the last 15 years has just been to help you land your next great opportunity. So thank you very much for joining us today, everybody. Have a great Tuesday, and we hope to see you tomorrow or later in the week.